Hey guys, so I did this for a wee while ago. I came in to do this time trial challenge that we have at Broadbean Raceway. However, whenever this was came out and people were doing it, setting times, I was hearing of a few people, a few friends of mine who use pad, especially people who are using the sticks to steer, how much difficulty they were having with turning and matching the same lines and stuff that people on wheel were doing. So this has been a conversation about pad and steering inputs and stuff for a very long time in the Discord that we have. You can see there on the board the time I set after today really was the 32.3. Now there's people faster than me, such as James there and Fun Police. They are two people who do use the controller and do use the sticks to steer. Now, I was on the controller before I transitioned to the wheel about a year ago. I'm still using the G29. I was always on controller, but ever since GT Sport, for whatever reason, I got used to and really liked the motion sensor for steering as a steering input. So this is what I thought I'd do. I thought I'd come and do a lap on this time trial with each of the steering inputs. So here is the first lap I've set. This is my point 3 with the wheel. And you can see, if you have a wee look at the wee red dot above the rev bar, it's showing my steering inputs. And you can see where it's all the way over to the right and all the way over to the left. That's when I'm having full lock. And, you know, it's all the way over, and it looks quite smooth in its inputs and all the rest of it. And then here is where I decided to try picking up the controller again and doing motion sensor. Now look at the first quarter where it's obviously having a bit of a difficulty there going full lock to the right, and same there where it's not quite achieving 100% full lock to the left when I'm going back to the left hand turn. But overall this is very, very, very similar feeling and how it looks to the wheels input. Now this only took me a few laps to get that 32.4, and you can see there I've paused it going, oh my god, I've just got like the same time I set in the wheel on the pad with the motion. So this is where it gets interesting for me. This is where I was trying to drive. This is, you know, a 10 or 11 lap session or something where I'm trying to drive on the pad with the sticks. So granted, I'm not used to this. So the driving here is going to look very, very, very sort of rough around the edges and a bit dodgy. I'm trying to figure out how the hell to get this car turned when it's not allowing me. Look at the steering indicator here going around this first long right-hander. Look how far it just doesn't go out all the way to the full lock steering whatsoever. And this is causing me to have to compensate in other ways. I'm having to lift off the throttle, maybe be a bit more violent with the steering in places and scrubbing the wheels a bit extra. This is where pad tyre wear is coming into effect. Pad users in this game are suffering far worse tyre wear in races, on heavy tyre wear races in the game. And this is because they're being forced to be, I don't know how best to explain this, but you're having to be a lot more forceful with the steering. You're scrubbing the wheels a lot more whenever you're, especially through corners where you're trying to go from full lock left to full lock right. Like say the final chicane at Spa, there's certain sections of tracks, like think about turn 1 at Suzuka where you're going through all those wee S's. But there's just some tracks and situations where it's highlighting this issue with the controller. And now a lot of things I've heard about PD and how they program these things and why it's like this is kind of goes over my head, and there's a lot of people saying I think it's because of this and I think it's because of that. I don't really know. I would get James in here on a more technical rundown of exactly what's going on with the steering input and the sticks. Obviously, because you with the stick you could go full lock left to right a lot easier than you could on a wheel, or a lot more quickly. So whatever they're doing to try and compensate for that or whatever, it doesn't work. And this particular time trial challenge just shows, especially when you're just looking at that steering indicator as I'm going around the lap, and how I can't get it all the way over to the right in turn one. Look, I'm lifting off the throttle and back on the throttle there again, and you know, it feels really counterintuitive to drive, and it feels quite frustrating that you can't just be smooth with your inputs and achieve the same results. And you should be able to. Now, I don't know. Obviously, I'm a very small YouTube channel. I'm not expecting this to raise loads of bells and whistles or make PD change their tune or do anything differently, but it would be nice, you know. I thought that at the very least I could just highlight this issue, and if you are on controller, maybe this highlights something for you that you haven't realised, that maybe, oh, why can't I get the lap time around this track? I'm usually this close to this person, but here I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong with my driving. Could have something to do with it, especially if you're on sticks. And I mean, if you look at my driving in this one compared to my motion sensor lap, you can see the difference in how smooth it is and how much steering input it allows you. So please, I mean, people always thought I was a freak for using motion sensor in the pad, but it really, really, really does work very well. And if you're on controller and, you know, don't want to bother with a wheel, or don't have money or space for a wheel, or there's somebody who'd crack up if you set a wheel in front of the TV, if you're fine playing with controller, or that's your situation, then I would urge anyone to at least try motion sensor. So I don't know, guys. Hopefully this all just highlights the big bugbear with the pad issue in the game at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, thanks, dudes. I think that's me. I'll catch you soon.